Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the podcast. It's really, really great to have you come back and join me today. I wanted to share with you a very, very interesting conversation I had a couple of months ago with Rowsonara. Now, those of you who have seen the interview content we filmed for her more recently, there is a brief little bits of crossover, but I still wanted to put the interview out and still wanted to put this podcast out because there is a lot of value in this podcast, I think, for anyone who is looking to get into business or anything who's looking to especially start in the catering world. So I'm going to shut up and let Rowsonara kind of introduce herself a little bit more for those who may not know her. And thank you so much for joining me once again. And if you did enjoy this interview, should I say, then please leave this video with a like, and I'll see you very, very soon.
I'm Rowsonara Begum. I manage my brother's Indian takeaway food business based in Salisbury, known as Saffron Indian Takeaway. The business was established 3 years ago by my brother. My father, he has over 35 years experience in the curry industry, so we decided to set up another takeaway food business, one that our siblings would work together and provide a
Mhm.
takeaway food collection delivery service.
Interesting. Have you seen that there's specific things that you've learned specifically or your brothers learned from obviously having a family member already run a business? So some of the mistakes your dad may have made early on that you, as you've come from that, sort of can avoid or have avoided.
Well, yes, he's got a lot of experience, and there's things that we are still learning along the way. So we always go to our father for advice and information. But then also there is a lot of changes that have happened throughout the years, such as there's different legislation changes, accountancy and everything in the business. As everything's just kind of moved on. So in that sense, I guess my father would probably rely on this side to help him anyway. So we kind of feed off each other, which is really good.
Hmm. No, that definitely sounds like a very good working and kind of family dynamic in the respect to kind of, it's everyone helping everyone in that respect. Have you seen any trends or any, you talked about things are changing all the time, but have you seen anything moving forward? And we'll come on to COVID probably a little bit later, but the specifically the takeaway industry as a whole has sort of adapted, sort of changed. Anything along those lines that you're really seeing, in the next six, say, plus years that will really be the thing.
There's been a lot of changes in terms of people's eating habits have changed. People are a bit more busier, so they are having a bit more takeaways, but also trying to eat more healthier options. So um, definitely, people's lifestyles have changed. And also just the way we market our business, we are having to use more social media. So back when my dad was running his business, there wasn't as much, social media. Well, there wasn't hardly any social media actually back then. It was more, using newspaper advertisements and things like that. So I guess there is a bit more social media engagement going on, and I think that's really important just to use the technology to get to reach the customers.
Mhm. How have you seen, as you mentioned, you sort of going into social media and using that as your messaging? How have you found that process from, say, when you started that a couple of years ago to now what you're looking to do moving forward for the next couple of years?
Yeah, there's definitely been an increase in the use of social media. Before, when we started, there was Facebook, but I don't think we were using Instagram and Twitter. I think that kind of came on a little bit later on. So, you can reach different types of customers. I think Instagram is good for, pictures, and that's quite good for the food business because it's more visual stuff, and when customers look at dishes, it might entice them to sort of order from you. um, And Facebook is we do quite have a lot of interaction on Facebook, so with comments and reviews as well. So um, each of the different channels have its own uses, sort of thing. So I think we try to use all the platforms as much as possible, um, to try and reach out to all those customers. And but yeah, definitely there has been an increase since we first started, and I think we do need to stay active with that, because people are on their phones a lot, and it's kind of sticks in their head when things pop up. They see something from us and they might think, oh, I fancy a takeaway, or I'm hoping that's what happens. But I think you sort of remind your customers that you're there. And yeah, I think it's just really important just to stay active, keep engaging with your customers, and trying to do new things, think of new ideas, new content. I think that is really important in this day and age.
No, definitely. I think that there's going to be some, not necessarily takeaways, but some businesses that look to or are or skeptical, should I say, of some social media marketing or content marketing or producing content that has a specific message to help bring more awareness around what you do. Would you do you what would you say to those people who or those business owners that are more skeptical?
The thing is, it doesn't cost anything. You've got Facebook, you've got Instagram, you've got control over it, or somebody can have control over it that's a bit more au fait with it, I suppose. So it's free. It doesn't cost you anything to post anything, and it's kind of live pretty much, because sometimes I'm in the kitchen and I'll think, oh yeah, this just looks nice. Let's take a shot and just put it on our Instagram story or something like that. So it's very pretty much instant when I do post it, and provided that the quality looks good, then I think, why not? Let's just post it. No, I would say that, yeah, definitely there are ways that you can get around that. There are people that do tutorials. It's on YouTube as well, how to sort of use these different platforms. Um, and once you know how to do it, it is pretty straightforward. I think it's probably just daunting at first, but once you get going and once you get the relevant training, you will see that it doesn't cost anything and it will benefit you. Rather than doing nothing, I think it's better to do something.
hmm No, definitely. I think that's really important. I think that having a presence on those social medias, even if it's just owning the accounts, is very, very beneficial. What kind of place or what weight or how powerful do you feel the right kind of content is going to be for someone looking to do more social media marketing or just being on social media more or using social media as a tool to help promote what they do and help spread the word and spread their messaging.
Yes, I think it's first of all you have to understand who your customers are, so that you are delivering the appropriate content out to them that it caters to that type of customer. So I guess when you're first setting up a business, you would sort of look into what kind of customers you want to target. So I think a lot of research needs to be done first, sort of have a plan in place as to what you want the look to be like, and what sort of customers you want to attract, and taking all of that into account, and the type of content that you think that they would like to see. um, then this is when you have to think about your content, and it's the sort of language you use as well, because obviously the type of language you speak to youngsters as opposed to, sorry, much older customers, it's different. So you want to use language that they are able to understand and connect with. So yeah, I would just say basically just make sure that you are um, attracting the right type of customers that you want to attract, because there is no point posting content that is not going to do so well. So if you're going to post something, make sure it's going to be an effective, content that you want to, whatever you want to achieve from that content is what you want to aim for, basically. So um,
I don't know if you would agree with this, but from the time that I personally spent just on my own social media marketing efforts in that respect, I find that it really allows me to, I might have just from doing market research and understanding who my ideal client is in my case, but in your case, your ideal customer, you'll find that you will sort of be able to really fine tune who those people are through analytical data from your Instagram, from your Facebook, in that respect. Have you found there has been specific, it is exactly what you expected it to be when you look into your analytical data? Or have you found that you're actually sometimes catering, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but have you sometimes catered to probably slightly an older audience or slightly younger audience, or, something that was a little bit off what you originally planned to create the content around, or originally planned to look to your ideal customer is?
Um, I think we already had the advantage of having various family businesses in the past. So we kind of knew in the area that we live in what the target audience would be, and how much traction we would get. So we kind of knew our audience from then. And because I was involved in the previous businesses as well, even though I was quite young, I did have some idea as to what kind of customers could potentially walk through the door. So with that in mind, I think it kind of worked out, successful for us. And with regards to analytics, yes, we do look at that information as well. We've got third party data that we look at, the products that are selling, as well as um, on our social media platforms what types of customers are that we are bringing in. So and I kind of had an idea of what customers would come because of the reviews that come in as well. We get really positive reviews, so those type of people are the ones that are very happy with us, and keep coming back to us. So um, I would say that basically what I had planned is what are the customers that have been, we have had repeat customers from those people. So um, and I think that's all down to doing your research before establishing the business, having a good plan in place, and I think that all sort of helped to make sure everything was how we wanted it to be.
No, definitely. I think that's really important to, from what it sounds like, definitely firstly understood who your target was, whether that's target client or target customer, depending on the trade. But obviously, in your case, it would be a customer, and then being able to tailor everything else you do around that. How, ideally, it'd be good to start now moving on to, kind of lockdown and COVID and that kind of thing, and how it's really affected your business, because I think that's really firstly interesting, but also because personally for me, I've been surprised to hear about some businesses that, because you would expect that some businesses have, struggling times and it's difficult, but they've actually been able to pivot, or they've actually been busier than usual, or etc. So how have you found kind of lockdown and kind of the first peak of COVID really affecting your business?
Well, for restaurants, I know they've had to shut their dining operations because of social distancing measures, because of the government's guidelines. So this meant there was an increase to takeaway and delivery services. So what we felt was there was more competition in that sense, because you had the restaurant operations that was still going to open, but with takeaway operations. So we had them as our competitors. But with that still happening, we were very busy. Um, there have been a lot of changes. We've had to adapt pretty quickly to the changes to ensure that our staff were protected, and the customers, just to make sure that they don't, there is potentially that they don't contract or spread the COVID-19. So we needed to make sure that there was thorough cleaning taking place, which should anyway, but there was even more emphasis on this. Um, and we also needed to make sure that all our staff were safe at work. And like, for example, if there was any symptoms that had persisted, it would mean sort of immediately taking action. So we had to just that we did have to consider a lot of things before we made the decision to continue operating. So and things like protective equipment such as masks and gloves to be used where possible. We also stopped taking collection and waiting orders. As you can understand, because of I know social distancing um, is sort of the lockdown is easing now, and people are coming starting to come out now. But at the beginning, we totally stopped those orders just because we wanted to avoid the customers coming out and then causing the problems with putting our staff at risk, the delivery drivers, and also customers at risk themselves. So we just thought it would be easier just to do home deliveries, and the demand for deliveries had increased anyway. So we had more delivery drivers. So we just needed to make sure that everybody was safe.
Hmm. No, definitely. I think that's really important, especially moving forward. Do you think there's any protocols or things that you specifically learnt from, or specifically are going to continue kind of having as your business protocol procedures that the climate may not necessarily ask of you, but that you feel are beneficial to keep on?
Well, at the current stage that we're in, where lockdown has eased, but and I know shops are going to start opening soon, and restaurants pretty soon. I think. I think at the moment we are going to continue as we have been, because it's only because I've been keeping an eye on the figures of the infection numbers, and it's a bit worrying that it's still increasing. So even though lockdown has been eased, I'm not comfortable in continuing as we had been doing before. But I think what we can do is start making preparations um, for when we can go back to operate. I think it will take time to operate fully like you used to, because this isn't going to go away very soon, and it's always going to be in the back of our mind. So I mean, certainly now it will. So I think for the time being, it's working. We are still providing a service to our customers. There are the odd occasions where the customers that live quite far out, they are wanting to come in and collect, but obviously we are not allowing collections. But on few instances, we can, making sure that they call us when they're outside, and then we sort of leave it for them to pick up. So we can be a bit flexible, but I think we haven't got to that stage yet where we can continue as we have been doing previously. And I think as we go along the process, things might change. We might adapt to certain things. We might change some things. I don't know, but what the main thing is, we are keeping our customers updated on our social media platforms. So whatever changes we do make, we will certainly communicate that to our customers so that they are made aware of any changes.
Hmm. No, definitely. I think that have you found, moving briefly back to the kind of marketing side and the communication side, have you found that by having those social media presences ready and being aware of what you should be doing on socials and looking to do what you're doing on socials anyway, it's allowed you to more easily communicate with your customers, with the changes you're possibly making or going to be making when it comes to making those
Oh,
decisions?
definitely. It is times like this that you think, okay, digitally, we are able to get to the message out to customers, provided that they are joined in these platforms. That is the only way we can really reach the customers. There may be traditional customers who are sort of used to picking up the paper and getting news that way. But I think as we're going along with times, the traditional method is dying down, in my view. Um, so I guess you can try to reach out to those customers, but I don't know how else you can really get to everybody, but I'd like to think that we are reaching as many customers as possible and getting information out to them. We also have email facility. We are quite approachable, I would say. So I do say that if you've got any queries, contact us. We get phone calls, we get Facebook private messages, and that's what we want. We want customers to feel that they can approach us with any queries that they have, because essentially this is what setting up the business was about, is to provide solutions and help customers. And I like to think that we are doing that.
No, no, definitely. I think that's really important, especially going out of your way now more than ever to, I think, up that communication and really up that kind of personal touch. I think is really, really important for every business, not necessarily just in takeaway, but I think really, really important in, every business, as you mentioned earlier, with retail possibly reopening at the time of filming in the next couple of weeks, um, and things like that as well. And I think, do you think people will have learnt the importance of marketing slash communication slash the kind of means in which we go about doing that, but also possibly the importance of being more personal with their client base or with their customer base?
I think so, especially because of lockdown, where you know to get information on what is going on outside, whether it's local or nationally. You will pick up your phone or log onto your laptop, and you will see news. And um, you know, I would like to think that this is where you will get all your news, your information about anything locally to nationally. So um, I would say even more so now, that you are more likely to have those views, because where people are normally busy out and about, um, that's not happening so much now.
Hmm. No, definitely. Have you thought? Because for me, it seems like right now, or in the next stage, or the next couple of weeks, that businesses should really be, I think, leaning into what they're doing marketing wise and really upping what they do marketing wise to really, for the reasons we just mentioned about, keeping people keeping the loop, keeping their clients in the loop, keeping their customers in the loop, etc. Have you personally either been keeping up or pushing harder with marketing than you otherwise would do, or are you thinking of possibly ramping up what you do with marketing as well?
I have actually increased social media marketing during lockdown. I have been posting weekly blogs, posts about what's going on in the business, just to have that connection with customers and keep that connection going. We have been extremely busy, but I felt like this is a great opportunity to connect with the customers on a personal point of view, because there's so much you're hearing about, such as mental health issues, and there's all sorts of things going on. So I wanted to touch on different topics, because I don't think it's just about just doing business. And I wanted it to be more about that. I wanted it to be more about connecting with the community. As you will know, we helped those working on the NHS frontline, who have been working tirelessly. And so everything that we were doing with the NHS, we were reporting on that. And it's not a publicity point of view. It's more just we wanted to do our bit for the NHS, and we wanted to work with the local community. So, and we wanted to share that with our customers, because I think it was a team effort, and I wanted to show my appreciation as well to the staff that had been helping. um, and so, yeah, I've been doing weekly blog posts and just reporting on things that we've been doing behind the scenes, such as working on our website. So those kind of things that normally we just don't take out the time to do, I had more time to think about tidying up those things and just sort of enhancing the website a bit more. So, yeah, so basically, yeah, that's something extra we have been doing.
Mhm. No, definitely. I think a lot of businesses will hopefully use this time to really look at, okay, what were my procedures? Okay, what was I where basically do I make money? And then how can they justify or maybe cut costs somewhere, or maybe make profit margins bigger, or etc. in that respect as well. Possibly not even necessarily like, oh, I want to make more money way, but also how can I add more value to my customers or clients? Whether that's I'm going to increase my service, or excuse me, I'm going to increase my offer, in the respect of what I offer, how I offer it in that respect. And I'm kind of glad that you brought up the NHS video that we did together, because I think that was a very, very important message. And my question is, how did you find that process? Firstly, in going about doing it from the NHS, the NHS side, but also possibly even from a video creation standpoint as well.
Yeah, so I've had contacts with people at the hospital. We didn't kind of just like turn up and just do it. We had quite lengthy conversations about how to trying to help the staff, how best we can accommodate the staff during this difficult time. Um, and we were delivering it, and it was going to different departments like the corona departments, and then it was moving on to other departments, emergency departments, and things like that. So um, and then it sort of got handed over to the Salisbury's charity, to sort of take control of that. And so then we were liaising with them. So it's just keeping that contact with them. We were doing it on a weekly basis, and we just said we would do it, just see how it goes. Obviously, we keeping in mind that we have to also, as a business, we have to think of costs as well that we have to consider. Um, and anyway, we did what we could do to help. And on the day, I think it was successful. We planned it thoroughly well. It was a beautiful day, and we had you on standby with the photography, which, and you captured some great moments, and we were able to just put it together and just kind of show you the journey from it. When we were in the kitchen doing the preparation to getting it out the door and delivering it to them. And it's just nice to look back at our achievements and what we did. Um, and it did put a smile on a lot of our customers' faces, and that is what we wanted. It just made customers feel happy that end of the day, whatever proceeds we make from our operations, that those funds were used to help the NHS. So the customers are part of that journey too, and this is why I wanted to share that.
Hmm. No, definitely. Do you think that it would have, what, not necessarily that obviously it was great to have me come down and do the video side of it, but do you feel that the video as a medium was an important way to tell that story?
Oh yes, definitely. I mean, there could have been other ways to do it. We could have done videos ourselves and captured some moments, but then at the same time, we are also trying to attend to the staff, so we wouldn't have been able to focus on that as well as doing the video in. We got some images, but again, they could do. But I think it was important for us to speak to the staff that were there, and focus on making sure we get the food out to them properly. So I guess by having you there, it kind of helped us to just focus on just doing things properly, whilst we forgot that you were there. Not sounding rude, but we forgot that you were there, which is good, because we were able to focus on the NHS staff. And then when I did look back at the video, I'm so glad that you captured all those images, because it was just put together so beautifully. So yeah, thank you for that.
No, that's all right. I mean, I think that's really glad for me to hear, because as well, because a lot of the time, and something which I've been enjoying during lockdown as well, is I've been able to kind of up how personal I am with clients. What we were talking about earlier as well, but it also allows me to really get that feedback, to really understand. Is there anything else I can be doing to, firstly, provide a better product or a better service, but also to really kind of get to the knit and grit of, like, specifically, how well did we do? How well did the messaging do? How well do we feel the video did in that respect? And I can actually take that time to really look at how that video did, and then what we take from what we learned from that to possibly do more in the future, to still allow you to firstly have the right message come across, but also how does that message come across as
Yeah.
well. I think for me, as Ali, that was really really important. So it was great to hear from you that that the video itself did exactly what you needed it to do.
Yeah, and I think
And
yeah, and I think that sorry to cut you off there, but I think part of that was the way it was delivered successfully was because we had that initial catch up before you came to do the filming. So you understood what I wanted the end product to look like. Um, and I guess I kind of trusted you to kind of put your own ideas into it. So it was a mixture of my ideas as well as your ideas, and there was not much editing that was required from what I can recall because you pretty much had done a good job of it anyway. So I was pleased with
mhm,
the outcome.
great. Okay, moving briefly on, because I think there's going to be a lot of people who will use this time to really think about where they are in their life, what they're really doing, because as a lot of people have said, the world's kind of on pause for at least this couple of months in the respect to professionally, in some cases anyway. And I think there's going to be some people who may have a 9 to 5 or maybe in a job that they were in for whatever reason and they may not want to be in the future, or they were made redundant, unfortunately, or etc. in that respect. And they are then going to make the decision to say, right, I'm going to try and build this side thing, or I'm going to try and build this business, or I really want to do X, Y, or Z, whatever that may be. What kind of advice would you give to those people who are looking to start their own project, their own business, their own kind of go out on their own, either coming out of COVID or during this process of COVID?
I would say definitely there needs to be thorough planning. So you've got a goal in mind. So you want to look at how you are going to achieve that goal. So sometimes people sort of overwhelm themselves and think, oh no, how are we going to get to that goal? You've got to do this, you've got to do that. Look at it, break it down into small pieces, and it can be achievable. Speak to friends and families and experts, and you can get some honest feedback on any ideas that you have. If you're thinking about starting a business, it's about providing a solution. So it might be you need to fill a hole in a certain market or niche. So also I'd say whether it's just general whatever's going on in your life, or if again we're going back to starting business, you need to look at the costs, taking into account your own personal situation. um, and I think you need to be passionate about what you do. So you have to have that sort of motivation to succeed, and you need to enjoy what you do, and so that you would be able to put your energy into and your time into what it is that you want to do. um so there's a lot of advice that I could give. I could be here all day. I'd say you definitely need to have a good support system as well. Sometimes speaking to different people, you can bounce ideas off each other. um and you've got to think of different things, especially like I say, with starting our business. Well, when we did compared to what my dad did years ago, there's been so many changes, and you've got to think of all the legalities, and there's different things that my dad didn't have to think about so many years ago, like insurance. And there wasn't so much there's so much, there's a long list of things I could go through. But yeah, you need to be professional as well. Yeah, so I think the key thing is just make sure you have a plan in place. And it's a workable plan, it's an ongoing plan that you can work through, and make sure you have a good support system.
No, definitely. I think that's really important. And I think that a lot of people that are running business or are thinking of running businesses or were thinking of running businesses are also going to use this time. I know personally, I've been using this time to really work out, what is the next 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 years of running media look like? What ideal situation. Of course, by no means does that mean that is what they're going to look like, but at least I have a rough goal or a rough line to strive for, to understand, to be aware of moving forward. In that respect, have you kind of whether that's you personally or the business, have developed a action plan to sort of continue growth, continue being able to operate, continue to move forward, continue to innovate, you know, to continue just general business? Because you were talking about like a starting plan, but have you kind of adapted that plan that you would be operating from, or tweaked it in any way, and kind of used this time in that way as well?
Yeah, I think you have to adapt to the environment as you go along the way. So as I say, everything's changing all the time, so it's important you keep up to date with what is going around you, whether it's socially, technologically, environmentally. We need to keep updating ourselves as to what's going on. So at the moment, I know we are living during sort of uncertain times. We don't know what economically what position we're going to be in. So you have to understand that if it's economically, if it's a difficult time, we could potentially be going through slower periods um of business. So we don't we things like this I would probably not uh spend too much, for example, on marketing, because no matter how much I spend, I probably won't get the customers that I anticipate getting, because customers may not be in a position to be spending. So it's things like that that you have to keep in mind, and just knowing when's the right time to spend and what to spend on. You have to um, sort of be aware of those different things that could be going on. Um, and for example, I know during COVID, our supply chain was affected due to shortages on some ingredients. So we had a lot of difficulty in trying to get those products, and those products are required for us to provide some of the food that we provide to our customers. So we went through a phase where we were sort of unable to get some of those products, and then it was announced that the restaurants would be closing. So we were then able to access some of the products a bit more easily, but there were still shortages. So thankfully we've got over that, but it could go sort of up and down. We just have to keep aware of what's going on, and be prepared for any changes like that. I think definitely we are probably going to be in the months to come. We probably will have some more uncertain times ahead of us. So I mean, I'm using this time now just to just keep our website up to date. I'm not spending heavily, but at the same time, just spending enough just to keep that interaction with customers at the moment. And then I think I am expecting slower periods possibly later on, but you just don't know which way it's going to go. That's the thing. And I think, as I say, going back to what I said before, just keep an eye on what's going on around you, and adapt to those changes the best way you can.
No, definitely. I think it's really important to have that balance in the respect to, because from my side at least as a marketer, it's I know in firsthand that it's very important not to ever let go in the respect to, oh, I'm just not going to spend any money at all on marketing. Of course, moving forward, there will be, of course, budget concerns, but it's about when products work, for example, a video or, a piece of audio or a blog post or etc., whatever you're doing, it's about then working with the team that you have to allow that process to be created. So whether it's working with me, for example, to create a video, how can we get what is the best video at this time with the money you have to use to make that video possible, for example, or etc. But also I think from a business perspective, it's more in some ways of sort of understanding that there's this kind of constant backwards and forwards arrow. I think for me anyway, it's this kind of, okay, I have to lose some money now to be able to gain in the future. No matter what times we're in, that might change the amount of money we're talking about, but it's still going to be one of those things to keep growth happening and to keep business moving forward. There unfortunately needs to be some kind of, I spend an amount here, but then I will end up ideally gaining that chunk back plus some for whatever that service or whatever it was I was investing in, if that made sense.
That
And that's for me, that's what I see as a good investment. and it being an investment and not just spending money for the sake of spending money.
I agree, because I believe you will get a return on that investment by those customers or those repeat customers coming back to you. So it's not money that's gone down the drain. It is effective marketing to keep those customers coming back to you. So I think it is important to spend the right amount of money, but obviously not too much to the point that you're running out of cash to spend on vital things such as paying your staff wages. And you have to keep the cash flow running
Hmm.
in the business. That's equally important. So you have to consider all those things as well.
No, definitely, and that's why I think that's why it's important to understand, from a business perspective, or when you're in a more manager role, about where that balance is, and only that person can specifically say, right, during this period of time we can afford to spend this much, but during this amount of time, when times are better, we might be able to up what we're doing to future proof ourselves more, a little bit more in that respect as well. So I think that's really important, firstly, to understand, that is the way a lot of business works, in the respect to, as we were just mentioning, about there is nothing in business that doesn't, in most cases, require you to either invest a large amount of time or some amount of time, but also a large amount of money, or not necessarily a large amount, but an amount of money, to continue things moving forward and continue, especially from a marketing standpoint, because I think that it's very important for people to be continually reminding either new customers or, retaining customers, or returning customers, to firstly remind them that you still exist, one, and two, also to increase the amount of value that you're going to add to those, clients or customers in that respect as well. Have you sort of, from your experience with either working with your, dad's takeaway or your own, sort of seen this kind of like up and down effect in that respect, regarding like there's a correlation between, if you spend, say, X amount now on marketing, it actually benefits you more in, 3 months, 4 months down the line?
I can certainly say that over the 3 years that I've been running my brother's takeaway, my father's takeaway is a separate one, which I did also help out with. So talking about my brother's one that I established right from the beginning, um,
Mhm.
I can see that there wasn't heavy market. Sorry, there wasn't heavy advertising going on at that point. There was the odd few articles in the local paper, some posts on Facebook. We didn't have Instagram and Twitter at that time, but there wasn't as much then. And obviously, I know with most new businesses, it takes time to pick up those new customers. So I think I probably, if I had to go back and start again, I would probably have invested a little bit more on marketing. But I think as we were starting the business quite new, we were aware of social media marketing, but I guess we hadn't spent as much because I guess we didn't know, we you just don't know how it's going to go, I suppose, and it's about probably a more confidence thing. So you just want to just get up and running and get going and see how things go. But I guess if we had spent a bit more on that, possibly, you don't know which way it would have gone. We may have grown a bit quicker, as maybe possibly, um, but equally, I would say that we where we are today from where we were before, we have definitely grown. We've got our repeat customers, um, and we are attracting new customers regularly as well. Especially during this lockdown period, we noticed there was a lot of new customers that we had attracted. That could be because of the customers that normally have a dine out experience at restaurant. Maybe they changed to takeaways, I'm guessing, or that just generally there's more people being at home, so they were having more takeaways. And I know people like home food cooking as well, but maybe they wanted a break and they could have gone for takeaways. I don't know, it could go either way. But yeah, I think certainly when I've increased the social media marketing, it has gone the right direction, I would say. So I am assuming that there is a correlation between the two. Yeah,
No, definitely. I think it's from mainly my side anyway. It's more about momentum,
yeah,
right? Like you can put XYZ amounts of content out, as long as it's the correct kind of content and it's doing the job that you need it to
yeah.
do, then in the long term it will serve
And
you
and I
correctly.
think
I
I
think
think sorry, I was going to say that I think more as time has gone along as well, people, our customers are starting to know about our brand as a family. So I guess we are sort of opening up to them a bit more through those different channels to try and sort of let them in a bit more about what we're doing. And I think customers like that, the fact that we are involving them in things like that, because essentially they are buying from us. So they you need to know who you're sort of supporting, I guess. I mean, I would, if I was buying from somebody, I'd like to know who I'm buying from, what they're doing. So I guess that understanding um, has enabled me to invest more on social media marketing, more time into that, more money into that as well. So um, and customers are getting to know more about our branding and engaging with us, and therefore will continue supporting us, I like to think.
mhm. No, definitely. I think it's about kind of building up that trust, because it's the more you do with, especially like brand awareness marketing and personal branding marketing and that kind of thing, it allows your customers or your clients to really get to know you as a human being instead of just a figurehead of a business. And it allows you for them, sorry, to build trust with you, as a person. So then they're more likely to stay loyal. And my next question was going to be, firstly, do you think that there'll be returning customers, or a percentage will be returning customers? And then, if there is, what specific things do you think from your side, whether it's your service, whether it's your product, whether it's a mix on how you go about both,
Right.
will actually mean that they are returning customers?
I would like the new customers to be returning customers rather than just one-off customers, because we the emphasis is more on the quality and the standard of food. The service levels are also important. We don't want customers having their meal turn up like, and too late. So it has been challenging because it has been much busier than usual, so the service levels have sort of fluctuated, so we're given more extra times for deliveries. But I think the key thing is to manage the customer's expectations. So not assuming that they know that it's going to be a standard like 40-45 minutes. We are keeping them updated as to how long it could be through our website. But I would like, and I think customers do know that it's an extremely busy time at the moment, because I do often get reviews. I do get customers calling up saying, "I know you've been really busy," so they are aware of what is going on and that we're likely to be busier than usual. But obviously, I would like those customers to come back to us based on the quality and the standard of the food, because essentially that is what we are aiming to do, is to provide quality, good food to be delivered at reasonable times. So, and I do encourage customers to leave reviews with us, whether it's positive or negative, because even negative ones, we want to know where we're going wrong and where we can improve our level of service, or if it's anything to do with the food, because sometimes it's not possible for us to get it right all the time. And this is why I do encourage reviews to be sent to us, so that we can work on it and make sure that problems don't keep happening, or we can improve the level of service, or whatever it may be. So um, and I repeat customers are important for us, because it's essentially like your bread and butter, isn't it? It's the ones that keep the business running. And yeah, I understand customers, they like to try different places. Sometimes they will come to you, they'll try other places, and essentially they might come back to you. And that's what we hope for, that they do come back because of the food and all the service that they receive from us. So I think it's you have to you have to think about those things, uh, and create that good impression so that they do come back to you.
Mhm. No, definitely. I think that leaving a kind of lasting memory with them, like, oh, that curry was amazing, or oh, that service was, really good, or etc. But yeah, firstly, leaving like a positive reminder of any experience with you, but also I think something which is really, really important, and something which I want to build off a little bit is that you taking feedback on board and saying, and not necessarily an understanding where you may have gone wrong and where things could be better, and then actually trying to go out of your way to make those better, I think is really, really important to for any business, not just yours or not just mine. But I think that it's very, very important to allow you as a person to say, well, look, I'm not going to get it right every time, but here's what I'm going to do to make that situation better, or make sure it doesn't happen next time, or etc. in that respect as well. I think that's very, very important for any
I
business.
think customers remember that as well. It's not where you've gone wrong. It's how you have dealt with the problem and resolved queries. Because it's like personally, you will go through problems, and but then when you pick up the phone, on the other end of the phone, you want somebody that's going to be helpful, that's going to listen to you, and that's going to understand you, and you come to a solution. And you look at it the same way as your customer. Something's gone wrong, they want you to basically sort out the problem or hear them out as to what's gone wrong or what they're not happy with. And it's a two-way relationship, isn't it? It's you working together to reach a solution, to make sure that they are satisfied with the solution. Problems happen, it's just how you deal with the problems that count.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that for me, anyway, the more I've gone into business and the more I've been operating, the more I've sort of developed a problem solving mindset in the respect to, right, this hasn't necessarily gone as well, or this hasn't necessarily gone as ideally, but you know, this is how I'm going to resolve it, or let's work to resolve it. What specifically is the core of that problem? What specifically is the core of that issue? And then how can we do it better next time, or how can we avoid this situation from happening in the
Uh,
future as
This
well?
is it, and this is how you learn from. In a way, it's good that you have problems like this, because then you learn from them. So next time, okay, this is not going to happen next time. This is what we do next time to make sure it doesn't happen again. So I am grateful for when things do go wrong, because then it gives you an opportunity to get some feedback, and ensure things don't happen again, or how
Hmm.
you can avoid
No,
mistakes from happening again.
yeah, exactly. And using it as a learning experience instead of necessarily being like, right, that's a problem, but it may or may not be, because there's no such thing as, in my opinion anyway, there's no such thing as a problem that can't be
Yeah.
resolved,
And
right? If you're willing to tackle it with a problem solving mindset, and really understand the problem, then you can fix basically any problem. It might be, right, we need to go back to the drawing board to fix it, but you'll still fix the problem.
100%. And I think it's the attitude that you have. It's if you've got a negative attitude, almost like not a willing attitude, you're not going to be willing to help that customer. You don't want to solve that problem. But if you've got a positive attitude, you really want a willing positive attitude, that you want to help that customer. You appreciate something's gone wrong. You're going to take responsibility for the problem, and you're going to admit that you have gone wrong. Then the customers will appreciate it.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think they'll also respect you a lot more for that, and they're actually, I think, in some ways more likely to come back to you because, they are not going to be scared to come to you with a problem, or if there is an issue, they're not going to necessarily be worried or scared that you're not going to be able to fix the problem because of the problems that you fixed in the past, or the problems that you have personally run into, that you've been able to fix in the past as well.
Definitely, and I try to put that same sort of attitude across the board, basically in the team, just because it's all good me being like this, but I may not be around, so I want to make sure that everybody is following the same sort of culture. um, because essentially you don't want to confuse your customers, and you don't you uh, if if I believe something is working, that something is the best way to deal with it, I would say to my staff, this is how I believe you should deal with customers. I'm not. I, it sounds like I'm coming across very bossy, but no, I think it's really important that you do have to teach your staff how to speak to your customers, because things could go wrong, and at the end of the day, you are going to be the one that's going to be dealing with complaints. So to avoid the complaints, you should put the appropriate training out to your staff to make sure things do run smoothly.
Mhm. But yeah, as I think it's also about kind of your staff understanding what they, not being scared of repercussions if they make a decision that's like, I'm going to make this decision because I feel it's the best for the customer or the consumer or the client or whatever. um I'm going to make this decision because I feel it's best. And yeah, there may be a conversation about why did you make that decision and how it could have been done better in the next time, but they're not necessarily going to get into trouble or etc for making that decision.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys, for joining me once again. I hope you took value and enjoyed this interview. That is going to be wrapping it up for this week, but I will be back on Wednesday with a brand new YouTube video. And next week, I am actually going to be doing a very, very interesting episode to give you guys a little bit of an update on my mindset and how things have been going for me personally. So it's going to be a brief solo episode that will be then followed by another set of interview episodes in the coming weeks and months. So if you would like to not miss when the next podcast episode does come out, make sure to be subscribed to the channel. And I really, really appreciate everyone who's been giving me support on the content lately. It's been great to see. So thank you so much for joining me again once again, guys, and I'll see you very, very soon.